Підари дали запрос на арту і мінометку.
Тройка — это сила.
A Ukrainian Special Forces team prepares to move. They prepare quickly and calmly. Weapons are checked, ammunition is locked, communications are tested. Everyone ensures their equipment is ready for close quarters operations.
Ебашит, ты подлетаешь ко мне, бежим к этому.
The field commander gave brief but firm instructions to the troops. He indicated the direction of movement, outlined the entry routes, and emphasized the sectors that needed to be immediately secured.
Давайте, Икар, готовы.
They remained inside the room, positioned low and close against the wall. The squad leader monitored the situation near the door, observing the situation outside through a small gap. He made hand signals calming, waiting, ensuring the right timing. Several soldiers closed off the corners of the room, their weapons ready, pointing at the entry point. Others rechecked their communications and positions. Without much time, the instructions were completed, the troops were on the move. The assault unit, including elements from the Azov Brigade and other combat teams, immediately rushed to the designated location. The squad commander led from the front, directing the movement through the narrow passages between the destroyed buildings. Brisk steps, tight formation, complete focus. They began to scour the target area, preparing to enter house by house to retake positions previously held by Russian forces. Based on observations and coordinates sent by the drone operator, several Russian personnel were hiding inside a house not far from their position. The house was immediately designated as the operational lockdown point. The operator gave slow but firm instructions. The building was to be approached immediately, exits sealed, and the target secured alive if possible. All angles of approach were considered. There must be no openings for anyone to escape. Inside the room, the soldiers began adjusting their positions. The field of view was cleared. The approach route was divided. This was no longer about searching, it was about enclosing. The tension rose because they knew the men inside the house might also be aware they were being hunted. Every second that passed could give the enemy time to prepare, hide deeper, or try to make a surprise exit. The next order was a matter of timing. Once the signal was given, they would move quickly, approaching silently, surrounding the house from all sides, then enter and capture anyone still holding out inside. The Ukrainian assault teams involved in this operation were not improvised units. They were combat elements specifically trained for close quarters combat, CQB, and building clearance in urban environments. In scenarios like this, all movements followed a structured doctrine. Mastery of urban clearing tactics. The troops moved using sector domination methods. Every corner, hallway, and room had a designated fire control officer. There were no gray areas. Every step into the building was conducted using stacking, entry control, and room isolation techniques to prevent the target from changing position. Assault team rotation. The units did not move as one large mass. They were divided into functional elements. Assault element, the main team that made the approach in direct contact. Cover element maintained the fire sector and prevented the target from escaping. Support reserve element ready to replace positions, reinforce pressure, or close tactical gaps. Rotations were carried out quickly and quietly to maintain momentum and prevent combat fatigue. Decentralized squad level command. The squad commander maintains direct control on the ground. Instructions are given through hand signals, short communications, and visual control. This allows for instant adjustments to changing conditions inside the building. Area lockdown containment doctrine. The target is not immediately assaulted head-on. The area is first isolated. Egress routes are monitored. Sectors of fire are closed. The target's maneuvering space is narrowed. Only after perimeter control is achieved does the team systematically enter. Movement, discipline, and tempo control. In operations like this, speed is not the top priority, space control is key. Every positional change is carried out according to the principle. Clear, hold, cover, advance.
Твоя граната или чья? Два, три.
The order to move was finally given, but not for a swift assault. The assault team began systematically traversing the area, moving slowly from one building to the next. Each building was treated as a potential threat point. No space was left unattended. The formation remained tight, weapons ready, and steps short and measured. The first building was secured. Enter, check, clear, mark clear. Then advance a few meters and repeat. Their movements were deliberately slow. In an urban operation like this, excessive speed is dangerous. The enemy could be hiding behind thin walls, dark rooms, or upper floors unseen from the outside. Therefore, each approach was conducted according to the principle of silent advance, approaching silently, gaining perspective, and then ensuring the area was completely clear of threats before advancing further. The front team opened a path. The rear team secured the cleared sector. No gaps were left open. Their objective was clear: to sterilize the entire area, ensuring there were no hidden positions, no escape routes, and no threats remaining behind their line of movement. The advance continued, slowly, under control, house by house, until they approached the target building, which had already been locked down. The assault team was no longer moving in a straight line. They began to spread out and form a ring of encirclement. Every entrance, every gap between buildings, every possible exit was slowly closed off one by one. Their steps remained slow, almost silent. Communication was limited to hand signals, no shouting, no contact. The left flank team took up positions behind the collapsed wall. The right flank team closed off the rear of the house. Covering elements monitored the remaining windows and doors. The target building was now completely isolated. There was no room for maneuver. There was no retreat. No direction was unattended. Some soldiers began to close in on the main entry point, while others secured their firing angles at close range. Weapons raised, fully focused, fingers poised on the triggers, but still holding their nerve. They weren't in yet. This was the most tense phase, the seconds before direct contact. Inside the building, the target might already be aware of their encirclement. Outside, the attacking team waited for the most opportune moment to act. One more signal, and the operation would move from silent siege to total capture. Not far from the house-to-house sweep area, Another sector faced almost as intense combat but with a different terrain. While previously the focus of the operation had been on residential buildings, in this sector the primary objective was the trenches used as defensive points and shelters for enemy troops. These trenches were not simply temporary shelters. Many had been reinforced, interconnected, and camouflaged by rubble or the surrounding terrain. From the outside, they looked like ordinary parts of the devastated terrain, but beneath the surface lay movement routes, hidden firing points, and even layered defensive positions. Therefore, the approach remained the same: slow, systematic, and fully coordinated. The assault team did not immediately approach openly. They first observed the terrain, mapped possible firing lines, and then slowly moved closer to the trench line. Every meter of ground they crossed had to ensure that it was out of the direct line of fire from their concealed positions. Once close enough, the formation began to change. The forward element monitored the trench openings. Another element blocked possible retreat routes at the rear. The firing sector was divided to prevent sudden movements from within. The goal was clear: isolate the trench system before direct contact. Fighting in such areas was often extremely close and space constrained. Narrow trenches forced one-way movement, making every corner a critical point. Visibility was limited, maneuvering space was limited, and enemy positions were often lower than ground level, giving a defensive advantage. Therefore, the clearing process was gradual. Trench segments were secured one by one. Each branch was inspected before advancing further. No section was passed without verification. Tactically capturing a trench network meant eliminating hiding places, cutting off cover, and eliminating the possibility of counterattacks from below the surface. Captured trenches could also be immediately converted into new control positions, strengthening the newly advanced front. In other words, operations in this sector were not just about capturing ground, but about eliminating the hidden layers of defense that allowed the enemy to hold out longer. And as in the previous building sector, progress was measured not by distance, but by each meter of trench fully secured. From a tactical perspective, the jungle sector creates a fundamentally different combat environment than urban combat. While urban terrain provides visual references, hard structures, and clear spatial boundaries, the jungle virtually eliminates these certainties. First, degraded visibility and spatial control. Dense vegetation and irregular terrain contours break down lines of sight into extremely short and fragmented ones. As a result, units cannot maintain stable situational awareness. Terrain control is not determined by visibility, but by the ability to secure microsectors incrementally. Second, the advantage of concealed defensive positions. Jungle terrain is ideal for low-profile defensive systems, such as shallow trenches, foxholes, and subsurface connections. These positions often lack obvious visual indicators on the surface. This means that attackers face not just a defensive line, but a network of protection integrated with the terrain. Third, multi-directional threats with no fixed orientation. There are no natural corridors like roads or building passages. Contact can occur from any direction, including from lower elevations. This eliminates the concept of a linear front line and replaces it with a diffuse threat envelope. Fourth, reduced acoustic and visual detection. Vegetation absorbs sound and breaks up visual shapes. Slow movements with natural camouflage can occur undetected until very close range. This increases the likelihood of a sudden close-range engagement. Fifth, navigation complexity and formation integrity. The lack of geographic reference makes unit orientation dependent on internal coordination, not the environment. The risk of disorientation increases, especially during simultaneous multi-element movements. If team spacing is not precisely maintained, tactical gaps can form unnoticed. Operational conclusion. In the jungle sector, dominance is not determined by maneuver speed, but by micro-terrain control, formation discipline, and early detection of concealed positions. Terrain serves as a defensive force multiplier, so any offensive movement must be methodical, gradual, and based on area isolation before deeper penetration.
Контроль 12, контроль 12.
This operation wasn't confined to a single location. While the assault team was combing buildings and encircling targets in the residential sector, the pressure was also mounting in another sector, the forested area on the edge of the battle line. Two different fronts, one common goal: eliminate all concealment In the residential sector, the battle felt cramped and oppressive. Buildings crumbled into a maze of concrete, narrow alleys, limited visibility. Every doorway posed a threat. The assault team moved slowly, sticking to the walls, moving from one structure to another. They weren't just clearing houses, they were hunting for unseen presences. Sometimes there was no sound. Sometimes just a shadow and a broken window. Sometimes a small sign that someone was still hiding inside. Every building passed had to be made absolutely secure. If one spot was missed, the entire sector could become dangerous again. The mental pressure here came from distance. The enemy could be just meters away, separated by a single wall. Meanwhile, in the jungle sector, the atmosphere was different but just as tense. If in a housing complex, the threat comes from behind the walls, in the forest, the threat comes from all directions at once. Dense trees limit visibility. Uneven ground hides trench lines. Every bush can obscure a defensive position. The assault team moves much more slowly. Steps are kept as low as possible. Eyes constantly scan the tree line. This is where trenches become extremely dangerous. From the outside, they appear to be ordinary ground contours, but they are actually a network of cover that can conceal stealthy movements. The troops must approach undetected, all the while knowing they may be being watched from below. There is no clear front line, no definite visual boundaries, only the feeling that something or someone is waiting. The two sectors operate simultaneously. In a housing complex, very close combat, confined spaces, contact possible at any moment. In the forest, hidden threats, vast spaces, but full of uncertainty. But both follow the same pattern: enclose, constrict the space, then completely clear. Troops couldn't rush into either sector. If one area wasn't completely secure, threats could emerge from behind their lines of movement. As the operation progressed, pressure mounted on both sides of the battlefield. In the housing complex, the target building was almost completely surrounded. In the forest, a network of trenches began to emerge. Two distinct fronts, two directions of approach, 2 points of contact that could occur at any moment. And most nerve-wracking of all, the two sectors were tactically interconnected. If one side broke first, the entire balance of the operation could change in a matter of seconds. All units were now hovering on the brink of direct contact. Any further move could be the beginning of an open confrontation. Stay tuned for more updates. We'll continue to monitor this operation sector by sector and movement by movement. If you'd like to stay up to date with in-depth analysis, the latest developments from the front lines, and tactical insights based on field data, be sure to subscribe to this channel. Subscribe, turn on notifications, and stay connected with every important update we provide. Thank you for your support.
Ко мне, ко мне.
Ебать, я нашел себе трофей!